about sprint planning. Mohammed, what do you want to tell our team about sprint planning?
So this is perfect actually, because we just talked about grooming.
Yep.
So in grooming, that's probably the first time that the team have seen stories. They have talked about him. They have asked all the questions that they needed to understand the ask of the story. So now we actually tell the team members to go ahead and commit and deliver to these stories.
Yep.
In order to do so, we need to calculate the capacity for the team, how much the team can actually take on. And we need to calculate how much scope do we have into the backlog that we're about to commit. And make sure that the whole team is okay with the story points for each single story. So how I do that usually, I start with, I go over the stories one by one. Does everybody agree with the points for this story, or anybody have any questions about the story?
Yep.
Obviously, we have the whole team members are involved in the meeting, so we can get any question answered right on the spot. And to me, I try to make sure that the PO is there, because she is the one who has the say of priority. And you want to make sure that you're taking work that has high priority and need from my team members.
All right. Thank you. I'll echo on this or kind of expand on this. To me, before sprint planning happened, I have to go to my product owner and kind of like get them be on the same page with that. Hey, how much are you planning for this team to do next sprint? Because like you said, product owner has the vision for the team. She or he owns the backlog. Mm-hmm. So pretty much they kind of have the vision and the direction for the team, what is the most important thing that we're tackling next, pretty much. So I start by telling the product owner, let me share my screen for a second. I start by telling the product owner about our velocity. Hey, this is our velocity. In sprint 5, we committed to 32 and we have delivered 32. In sprint 6, we have delivered 48 and we've delivered 48. And then 56, 56, 30, 73, 73, and 37, 37. You guys might ask why sprint 9 is a lot less drastically to these numbers. You see, we kept increasing, and then at sprint 9 it decreased because this sprint we had a holiday and we had only half a sprint. That's why you see the commitment is a lot less. But anyway, so the number that you want to go to this planning with is what you finished in the sprint, and you want to get that average of those, which you can see here. The average is 49.2, which keeps you around 50. So you want it's not a set in stone. You want to go and kind of like give a ballpark of where you are right now in there. So this team their average is a 50-point team, and I know that they have 5 developers. So I go to the product owner and I tell her, this is our velocity. We agree that this is our velocity. It's a 50-point team. She tells me yes, we agree. Then I go from there to my second sheet to her, which is we have 5 developers in the team. They usually each team member takes, since we develop, we burn 50 points of sprints divided by 5 developers. So each team member takes 10 points. And now we have developer number 1. He's available for the 10 days of the sprint, which is 2 weeks. Each week has 5 working days. Developer number 2 is not going to be here. Actually, he's on a PTO or a leave for the next sprint, so he's not available. Developer number 3, he's available for the full sprint. Developer number 4 is available for full sprint, and developer number 5 is available for full sprint. And I put the availability in percentage. I didn't put it here in percentage, but usually it is a percentage. And then you kind of like multiply the percentage into the point that they usually, and then you get the total points. So let's say developer 5 is going to be in the sprint for 8 days and he's out 2 days. So you should be carrying 38 story points. So now you're not going to fight with the product owner against scope in front of the team. You actually got the buy-in that this sprint, next sprint, if we want to play safe and we want to set the team for success, we should be playing the sprint around 38 points. And if we feel that, and if any team member who has bandwidth to pull stories more, it is very safe to actually decide with the team, hey, I have bandwidth, then you check with the QA or the QE, do you have bandwidth to take it? And to me, I always advise the team, don't commit to anything outside the sprint. And if you have bandwidth, work outside the sprint, make sure that it passes QA, and if it passes, pull it to the sprint, but don't pull it to the sprint before you know that you're going to finish it 100%. So pretty much the commitment for this sprint should be 38 points. Mohammed, would you like to share with us kind of like your backlog? So now I agreed with the product owner. Now we're walking to the team with the backlog. So we pulled the backlog in front of the team.
So this is going to be the backlog that we're going to be, this is the sprint that we're in right now. The current sprint is sprint 32. Everything is done. Everything is complete. We're about to close out the sprint. We are going to go ahead and kick off the new sprint. Before we do so, we want to make sure everything in this sprint is ready for that. That means everything is pointed, everything, the team has one understanding of every single story, everybody understands the asks, and we all are clear about the goal of this sprint, which means the goal of the next 2 weeks when we come to work. Does every action we do at work is a good thing for the goal or not? So this is the backlog that we're going to be cleaning. Like Mohammed said, for example, if it's going to be a 50-point team, then we cannot take 65 points. We need to take some of these stories down to maybe next sprint or whatever, but you have always the ability to move them down or up or can't abandon them. But you want to do that as a team.
Sure.
Of course, with the knowledge of your PO, that's why your PO must be present in that meeting.
So let me kind of go super quick into this. So what I wanted to show the team here is, so I personally will go to the meeting. I'll tell my product owner, is the sprint, the next sprint that we're trying to plan, did you put everything in a priority order? She's going to tell me, oh, I didn't actually. That's why I see a lot of stories kind of like all over. Give me 1 minute. Then she will move some stories out, and I want to see this is in a priority order. So I want to start the first story. This is the most important story that product want to achieve in the next 10 days. So we start by the first story. I open it. As you can see here, the story is sized, but doesn't have an owner, right? So, because you know an owner when it has a face here. So this story doesn't have an owner. I'll pop it open. Pretty much what I'm going to do, read the title, mobile, consume, launch, startly, toggle that controls whether or not the guest can sit, cash account, whatever it is. And then I'll just simply ask the team who would like to play this story. And I'll just wait until somebody says, I want to play. And then I'll just tell him, add his name, John, blah, blah, blah. I'll hit yes, and then we're good. So we assign it to John, and then I pretty much go next. And then next, and then next, and then next. And I make sure that we are at the end by this 3 dots, you know what is your total. Over here, the total is 56 points, like Mohammed said, that you want to actually be aligned to the number that we are committing to at the start, which is 35 points that we set. So I'll ask my product owner again, this is too high for our commitment and for our velocity and capacity this coming sprint. So I'd love for us to be around, like what we said, 35. So please, let's try to de-scope this to make it at 35. So she will start moving stories outside the sprint to keep us around 35. And then I'll ask the team at the end of the meeting, is everyone comfortable on what we just committed to? And I'll give it actually a 30 seconds looking at everyone in the room, making sure that everyone is not keeping anything that might actually be a reason to make the sprint big. And then we move from there to thank you everyone. Last sprint was great, and this sprint even will make it better.
Also, also, I like to always end my sprint planning with a level of confidence question.
Yep.
I ask my team, what is the level of confidence that you feel like you will be able to deliver everything that you have just committed to? If somebody, and I tell them to answer me with a fist of 5, you know, they don't have to just speak out loud, they don't have to shout out or anything. Just a fist of 5. 5 means you're confident, 0 means you're not confident, 1 means you're not confident. So, a fist of 5, what's your level of confidence that you'll be able to deliver everything that you committed to? I'll see a 5 and I'll see a 4, for example. That's good. But if you see a 5 and you see a 2, you're going to ask the question, why do you feel like it's a 2? He will probably come up with something. He will say, oh, there's probably a dependency or something that we depending on another team. And then that will initiate a healthy conversation for the team. They're all going to be like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's always a very recommended thing to always ask them for level of confidence. And if it's a low level of confidence, ask the question why. And I like to end this. Are we ending this meeting? I thought we were done.
We will end it soon.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
What I wanted to end this meeting with is, how long does this meeting typically take from you?
Oh, so all my meetings I always under promote over deliver. So I always book a little bit longer meetings, but I usually finish my meetings early. So for this one, I book it 2 hours, but usually I finish it within an hour. Just to be safe, I book an extra 30 minutes usually, or an extra hour on their calendar, just in case if we need to stay long.
Yeah, I work with a harsh team. Maybe an extra hour will drive people crazy, but always I keep half an hour in these important meetings as a buffer.
Yeah, exactly.
So to me, it's usually an hour, and maybe a hint there that if your planning meeting takes longer than an hour or an hour and a half, that means that you did a very good job of improving. Because now your team is asking a lot of questions at the last stage before we kind of like push this story to be ready to start developing them. So if you're asking questions at the last second before you start developing, that means that you were not paying attention, or you didn't ask the questions that you should have been asking earlier. It's something to look for. I'm not saying, of course, catching the questions before even development is a lot better than asking the question after developing something that nobody wants. But this is for me to make sure that you need to give great attention to grooming, give the people the room and the chance to ask all the questions that they might have, and give them the room even to think about it and come back the next day to have any questions. And give them actually, before you start grooming, please send a list of the stories that you're going to groom to the team. They could look at before. Not necessarily everyone is focused 100% while the meeting is happening, but they could have some time before the meeting to look at these stories to prepare their questions. And even before planning, please keep the stories in the next sprint, like what we showed. The backlog is ready for the sprint. So please keep it there for developers to look at and actually start picking stories to play next ahead. Actually, I guess that's about it for planning. Thank you, everyone. You guys have a great day, and we will speak soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.